This is all where it fell apart. What I'm meant to be will eventually be a memory, but in the end, it doesn't even matter because I've never even made a yeasted dough before. I'm Jeff, and I bake sometimes. Welcome to Dessert Passport, where I'm randomly selecting and ranking the top 100 desserts in the world. So let's pick one. As found on Taste Atlas. The list does update periodically, but I'll be working from the original one that I found in mid-February. So go along with that. The recipe is also from Taste Atlas, just to keep everything consistent. Alright, so it looks like we have an extended vacation in Europe, and we're going to Sweden for SEMLA. SEMLA is a sweet, lightly spiced cardamom bun filled with almond paste, whipped cream, and then dusted with powdered sugar. In layman's terms, it's basically a dessert bread bowl that you can pour milk over. It's estimated that SEMLA has been around at least since the 1500s. The most primitive version of it was a wheat bun with warm milk poured over it. It was originally created to be eaten in the days before Lent. For those that don't know, Lent is a Christian observance. It's a 40-day period of fasting, prayer, and reflection. Then came along the Protestant Reformation, and then the Swedes questioned why they were so strict on fasting. And then they were like, "Oh, why don't we just eat semla every Tuesday between Fat Tuesday and Easter?" Nowadays they can be found in the times between Christmas and Easter. I don't know why. This is an oddly specific fact that I found on Wikipedia, that the Swedes eat an average of 4 to 5 semlas per holiday season. Maybe someone can correct me on that, but I felt like I had to include that. I think Max Miller from Tasting History actually does a fantastic job making and explaining the more historical side of semla and its creation. Semla can be found across Scandinavia, but it does vary a little bit. For instance, the bun could be filled with strawberry or raspberry jam, or the bun itself could be made of puff pastry. Taste Atlas did specifically mention that this recipe is translated from Sweden's official website of tourism and travel. To get started, I cut this recipe in half because it makes 16 semlas. I'm not saying that I couldn't, I'm saying that I shouldn't eat 16 semlas, or else I'd be the shape of one.
They ask you how you are, you don't just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
So we start with the ingredients, of course, and we need a bread starter. The recipe does specifically call out fresh yeast. I don't know where to get that, so I read online that you can actually substitute about 40% of active dry yeast for the amount of fresh yeast needed. So nothing special here. On the active dry yeast packets, that's 1/4 cup of a warm liquid and 1 teaspoon of sugar per packet. Dissolve the yeast in warmed milk. Then add 240 milliliters or 1 cup of whole milk at room temperature, 100 grams or half a cup of sugar, and 350 grams or 3 cups of all-purpose flour. Add the sugar and the flour to the yeast mixture by stand mixer or 10 minutes by hand. You know I'm going to use a stand mixer. I didn't buy it just to look pretty. Actually, it was a gift. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Cover with a cloth, and then go night-night for 30 minutes, which is the perfect time for a nap. You can tell the yeast is working its magic and it's happy by the way it is. While the dough is resting, we can prepare the almond mixture. I wouldn't really say it's a paste. I'd say it's more of a, I don't know, maybe it is a paste. Regardless, toast 200 grams or 7 ounces of almonds for the almond paste in the filling. I gotta say too, this stuff was phenomenal. Do not skimp on this. Even if I had the recipe, I should have doubled the paste. Alright, simple. Almonds. Pan. 3 to 5 minutes. Medium heat. Once golden and nutty. I really don't know why they said this. They're already nuts. Transfer them onto a plate. If you leave them on a pan, they could burn. Then take half or 100 grams of the toasted almonds and add them to a food processor. Grind until you have a fine powder. Then add 50 grams or 1/4 cup of sugar and then grind until combined. Throw in some water until it comes into a paste. Chop the remaining half of the almonds and then add them to the bowl with the paste and then mix them together. You can also add a couple tablespoons of milk to make it a little easier mixing it together. 2 teaspoons of vanilla powder and 1 teaspoon of almond extract. And you should have a delicious little crunchy almond paste. Transfer the finished paste into a piping bag. And this is where it kind of sucked for me because I got this stuff everywhere. I just could not do the piping bag technique for the life of me. This threw me for a loop because of my inexperience when it comes to bread. I'm not sure if they always need a second dough, but in this recipe specifically, it calls to start making the second dough now. And the second dough is made of 750 grams or 1 2/3 pounds of all-purpose flour, 10 grams or 2 teaspoons of salt, 150 grams or 3/4 cup of white granulated sugar, 200 grams, which is 3/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter cubed, and 1 tablespoon of freshly ground cardamom. I had pre-ground cardamom in my spice cabinet. I feel like that was sufficient enough. 240 milliliters or 1 cup of whole milk at room temperature. 1 egg. Knead until combined and elastic. This should take about 15 minutes by hand or 10 minutes by stand mixer. It has to develop those glutes. SEMLA don't skip that leg day. Each dough ball should be about 70 grams, and somehow I still ended up with 15 SEMLA even though I halved the recipe. I'm not mad, I'm just confused, which is pretty much how I exist normally. Transfer the balls of dough onto a baking tray lined with parchment paper, taking care that there is a lot of space in between each piece, and they will rise up and take back their space as the righteous nature intends for them.
Rises up like
Not sure what to call this proud baking moment, but I got 70 grams exactly. No big deal or anything. The recipe has a very specific instruction on how to get the round dough balls. I'll explain it, but I'm not sure there's a science behind this. To shape the dough into a ball, first, press on the piece of dough with the palm of your hand, then run in circles to get a smooth dough. Finally, cup the dough with your hand, but do not press on it and move it in circles until you get a perfectly round shape. You'll tell it's done just by the way it is. I don't know, I just eyeball everything. And I made these at least 6 weeks ago, so I can't remember how long this took, but it took a while. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't want to seem to rise, or double in size according to the instructions. They listen about as well as iPad kids. Apparently I didn't make the yeast very happy. Maybe I'm just too intimidating. Cover the tray with a cloth, and you gotta make sure those yeasty boys are happy 8 days a week. Sweden. Bake the buns in the middle of the oven at 225 degrees C or 430 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 to 13 minutes, or until golden.
oh my God!
Transfer them onto a wire rack to cool completely. Using scissors or a knife, cut a little hat off the top of each bun and scoop out the insides. I never imagined using scissors to cut bread. That is some shit Panera would do. On top of charging $15 for half a soup and half a salad, that is absolutely something they would do. You already know we're making homemade whip and nay cream. This will probably be the most simple thing I do today. Mix your heavy cream and vanilla extract to a mixer with the whisk attachment, and then whisk for an arbitrary amount of time until it looks like whipped cream, or until you can't nay no mo. Ta-da, you have your filling. Layer the bottom of the SEMLA with the most divine almond thing I've ever made. Just scoop the dang thing in the bun. Make your bread bowl. We don't pipe chili into a bread bowl. We don't need to pipe the almond paste. Make the whipped cream and the almond stuff cuddle, and then tuck them in with a little bread blanket. For my traditional pairing, I read that you can pour warm milk over it. It's supposed to be really freaking good, so I'm gonna do that. I also read that you can use the top to eat as a spoon. That way it doesn't get all over your face while you eat it. I'm a little bit of a messy boy, so I went in face first. Drown their sorrows with some warm milk, powdered sugar, and cinnamon, and there you have it. This is a fully dressed SEMLA. So the results are in, and the milk was such a nice addition. All of the flavors kind of melted together in like this culinary bayou of hot and cold. It was soft and crunchy from the bread and the chopped almonds. You get a tiniest punch of cinnamon, and it isn't muted at all from the milk. I was having the time of my life over here. Miss Claire is not particularly fond of nuts. So the ratings are, I give this an 8.5, Claire gave this a 7.5, and that is an average of an 8. Pretty good to be in second place, but not good enough to take down the Bavarian cream. So that was SEMLA from Sweden. See where else we go in the world. And don't forget your passport.